Ready to go, Danny? Welcome, everyone, to the Delhi Township Board of Trustees meeting for March the 30th, 2022. We're here in the Glen Carter Lodge again as we're still waiting for the elevator repair in the admin building. We'll start the meeting as we do. We'll go with the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. Tonight's moment of silence is dedicated to Scott Wittig. He left us very suddenly on March the 20th. He's survived by his wife, Leanne, daughters Katie, Lindsay, and Anthony. He was preceded in death by two children, Jake and Sydney. Scott was a valued member and supporter of the Delhi Citizens Police Association. In fact, Scott, Leanne, Lindsay, and Katie were all part of my initial Citizens Police Academy. The community was shocked by his untimely death. So rest in peace, Scott, and enjoy paradise with Jake and Sydney. Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. All right, we'll begin with the approval of the last minutes. Mr. Luby.
Motion to approve the minutes from the Board of Trustees regular meeting on March 9th and special meeting on March 14th, 2022, and dispense with the reading.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor? Yes. Motion passes.
Motion to approve the payment of overtime for pay periods ending March 8th and 22nd, 2022.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor? Yes. Motion approved.
Motion to approve bills for payment.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor? Yes. Motion approved. Report from our fiscal officer, Mr. Luby.
Resolution 2022-25, resolution authorizing the township administrator to spend greater than $10,000 on behalf of the township, declaring emergency and dispensing with the second reading.
I introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of this resolution.
Any discussion on this resolution, Mr. Cameron?
These are budgeted items. I think we have a roller for the public works, so their asphalt work is flat. Roof for the salt dome, some office space the police are going to create in their squad room, and then partnering on the waterworks street projects for this year for the public works.
Thank you.
I will move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading? Yes. Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Sturts?
Yes.
Mrs. Seavey?
Yes. Resolution passes.
far as-
Significant transactions, Mr. Luby?
We have payment to fit Northgate Ford for $136,000 for 3 police vehicles. And we did receive a deposit of $2,770,000 from Hamilton County for real estate tax advance. And on 3/17, our payroll was $315,000. So that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Trustee correspondence? Trustee Davis?
Just one quick one. The property on Mayhew that probably most of us were contacted about or was talking about, and I guess it was a rental, as I understand it, Greg. It was a rental, and I guess they didn't pay, so they went the due course of what the law says, and then the sheriff came out, and by law, what has to happen, everything dumped out of that house, and it has to sit there for 48 hours, right? And after that 48 hours, then the owners of the house can get it out of there, and it's out of there, and it was out pretty quick. So thank you so much for you and your department. And I can't imagine what those property owners around there to just drive down Mayhew and to see that. Every one of us saw it. We saw the pictures, and we saw it on the social media network also. So, you know, it's very sad, and you know, these are tough times, especially for renters and such, and property owners are raising rents and things. They're tough times, but again, in a situation like that, I guess they've gone the distance, and that was the only other thing. So it sat there for 48 hours, and thrilled that it's all taken care of, so thank you so much on it.
Trustee Starks?
I'd just like to piggyback that. Thank you, Trustee Davis. There is a process that, if you have a complaint, is to call. Call in here and let us know what your complaint is. You'll get more expeditious answers. You'll get the right answers, and not to put it out to public forums where people don't really know what's going on. So we'd appreciate it if you'd give some consideration to our department who's working really hard to keep your township looking the way you want it to look, and they'd be glad to answer your questions. So thank you for that.
I would like to share with everyone that we have 2 Delhi Township police officers who have been recognized with a letter of commendation from Green Township Police Department. And it was a beautiful letter that came from Chief Vetter of Green Township. And he's expressing his thanks and commending the actions of our Delhi officers, Tyler Steinley and Kyle Venemeyer. So for their mutual aid and their assistance in the recent double homicide on Sydney Road. So congratulations to our officers for doing a great job with mutual aid and really working with our neighbors in Green Township. And also, I would like to thank everyone for your correspondence regarding recent issues. I value all of your opinions, and I'm really grateful that you took the time to share yours with me. So thank you for your correspondence. Okay, that's all I have, and we will continue. This is a very special night. We have a special presentation by Greg DeLong and Randy Subi. Greg is our assistant administrator, and Randy is our director of park operations, about 2 items that we've talked about. And we're going to hear where we are in progress now on pickleball courts and the dog park. Thanks, guys.
No, you're welcome. Yeah, if you can pull it up. I'm not sure how special this is. I think it's a big deal. I mean, we're trying to change the park system in Delhi, and with the opening of our playground this past year has been a big hoopla. I mean, I could see the cars back there when I came in this evening, so there's a lot of people enjoying our parks quite a bit. And we do ask people to properly use our park equipment when you're out there so we don't have damage occurring.
Thank you for mentioning that.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's an ongoing issue. So last year we were approached by the Board of Trustees about pickleball and a dog park in our park system. We put it in the budget. We thank you for allowing that to happen. Now we're to the point of trying to figure out where are the best locations for these items to be placed within the township. Over the last week, Randy, myself, our administrator, Mr. Cameron, and I went out and kind of scoped some areas around the township that we felt were probably at least a good discussion point for you to consider for both the dog park and the pickleball court. So we put together a spreadsheet, which is kind of hard to see on the screen right now, but you do have a copy of it in front of you, designating some areas where we felt a dog park would probably be suitable within the township. The primary areas are Delhi Park and some possible properties on Rapid Run. Now, there are some stipulations with the properties on Rapid Run because they are owned by FEMA, so we'd have to make sure we get all proper clearance down there. But I designated 5 areas within Delhi Park that were possible locations, and we also threw in the Hillside property out on Hillside in Cleese, Warsaw. You have that in front of you. We kind of ranked them based on their location, accessibility, water, parking, and also adjacent uses, because as a dog park, they could probably be a little bit loud at times with barking dogs playing with each other. One of the things that we've heard in just talking to other communities and also consultants is a good size for a dog park is about 1 acre in size. You also want to make sure you have the fencing at least 5 feet in height. There's other considerations we can take into or consider that would be separating into a large dog park, small dog park, is you want to have amenities in there. One of the key things we definitely want to make sure we have in any dog park is water accessibility, primarily for the animals, not the humans standing there watching them, but for the animals that are running around. So when we were going through this whole thing, considering it, that was one of our top considerations. So we can start with the dog park. I don't know if you want to break it into 2 or if you want to just talk about both dog and pickleball this time.
I prefer we do one at a time,
Okay, so
since they're budgeted separately.
they're budgeted separately. So here's a map we put together. The areas that are, it's kind of hard to see again, in yellow that are designated as D1 through D5 are random locations throughout Delhi Park that we thought would probably be areas to consider for a future dog park. You also see on the map some lines that are blue and red. The blue lines are where water lines or, what do you want to call it, sprinkler systems are located throughout the park. The red lines are drainage swales or drainage lines. So we have 5 different locations. We rated the first location in Delhi Park as the Foley Road entrance, the Foley Road. I guess I should look at my map as I'm talking because I can't really see that far away. The second location we were looking at is an area over in Floral Paradise Gardens. And also on this spreadsheet, we did put down some notes of consideration for you guys. Some of these areas are used quite often by youth organizations and the public, so it's something we have to think about. Area 3 is an area on the south side of Clearview Lake that we thought would be a good location. This may also keep our geese population thinned out a little bit by scaring them away. The fourth location is another area in Floral Paradise Gardens. It's kind of more in the wooded area, so we'd have to do some tree clearing and stuff like that. And then our fifth area in Delhi Park was actually where Field 9 is. That area is, it's underutilized because we run into a lot of flooding issues down in that area. I don't know if there's anything you want to share about each one of those locations, Randy?
Just the Field 9. It's been talked over years that it's possibly been able to change to something more valuable. With the time frame we have, they might get a couple months of use out of it because it's a downhill slope, everything drains to that point. So, you know, at some point, if it could be filled, possibly raised up to grade, be utilized better. So.
Yeah, and one of the things with the dog park is we don't have to worry about a ton of grading. It's pretty much getting the fencing installed and gravel around the base of the fencing because you're just going to have dead grass with the animals going their way. And then depending on the location, in Delhi Park, we're pretty good with parking, but when we get these other locations, we'll have to talk about off-street parking and things like that. But it's pretty much put a fence in. You want to have a good quality fence. The recommendation we were given was a fence that has a coating on it. So, like, we were looking at first at ornamental metal fences, a more decorative thing like we're putting over here at the playground that should be installed here in the next week. But we also got a quote on chain link fencing that has that black coating on it, so it doesn't really stick out in the wide open and things. If you want me to hit that price number right now, what we're seeing about fencing, I'm more than happy to say it. I'm not really happy, but we probably need to get out there. To fence in about an acre dog park right now is about $55,000, and that is because of supply and demand. If we want to go with a more decorative fencing, they told us to basically double that price. That's not cheap. So that is dog parks in Delhi Park at this point. I don't know if we can talk about Rapid Run. It's a little difficult to see on the map. We have some areas on here. We don't want to totally focus too extreme on these locations because, again, there are some stipulations we got to get cleared through FEMA if these are desirable locations, but we broke them into 3 zones. Zone A is a little bit to the left. It's in the green. That area is a little bit, it's a good size area. It's about 1.9 acres in size. Again, we have no off-street parking. We would probably need to add off-street parking. If we can get approval through FEMA, one of the positives on this one is there's still an existing house there that, again, if we can get it through the program and the approval through FEMA, there's a water tap available. So we would not have to create a new water tap at that location. But there are some issues over there. Again, FEMA is going to be the big issue. We'd have to clear the property, tree removal, and also probably put in some off-street parking because right now the only parking over there would be on-street, which is limited certain hours of the day, and it's a busy road. And then the other areas we have are Zone B and Zone C, which are kind of an essential area between Mead Road and Anderson Ferry. That is a little bit unique. There's actually a house up on the hill that has almost like a flag lot that comes down. It's 10 feet wide, so that's why it's broken into 2 zones over there. We could possibly consider acquiring that. It's not a driveway, it's just a lot that comes down there. I'm not sure exactly what it's for. Maybe it was at one time planned to be a secondary access point to that home, But if you combine those, you could probably get a decent size. But again, we have no water at that location. We'd have to put tap in, which is not cheap. We'd also have to put off-street parking in. And again, we have to consider that fencing cost with that one. And then last but not least, we do have the Hillside Property, which is not that one, it's the next one. Thank you. That's a little hard to see in here, but there is water and sewer out there. Most of this area is within the zone AE on the FEMA firm maps. So we'd have to probably again, run everything by FEMA on this property. One of the things I was reading on the AE zoning district, if we built a restroom out here for anyone, we'd have to get insurance, and they may not even allow the restroom to be built, depending on where it is on the property, because of the FEMA rules. So that's why that area, I think, was probably always thought to be in long-term soccer fields, because you really don't have a lot out there for that. But if we do put a dog park, you do have fencing, we have to get the fencing approved, we have to get anything else approved, and we also probably need to look at our insurance for flood insurance. So those are the three areas of the township we were considering, multiple locations, 9 different locations, and we'll turn it over to you guys to have a discussion. Any questions for us?
Trustee Davis?
Well, on the fencing that you mentioned, that would be for the acre around it, but then there's also, as far as the dog park, you're going to need fencing inside there also, correct?
That would include all of it.
That's all of it, okay, great. My first thought is, one, being a dog owner all my life, the Rapid Run, I'm not a fan of the Rapid Run property for the dog park, simply because I just can't imagine somebody getting out of the car and they're trying to focus on their dog, and they're trying to dog it, and they're 30 feet in Rapid Run. It just, to me, just throws red flags all over. I don't like that idea at all. And dogs are dogs, and they get spooked and traffic, and so that throws me off a little bit. I do, as I'm thinking, you know, that area that you have, as you come in off of Foley, right to the left, which is beautiful. And I know that they people like to play whatever, soccer or whatever that goes on up there. Me personally, and being a pickleball player, you know, that's a nice area. And it's nice because you come in and there's traffic and there's stuff going on, and it's energy, you know, and it's exciting. And you come in and you see people playing, and even the age bracket of people that play pickleball, it's just kind of neat, because right now the tennis courts, which are down below, down in the wooded, you just don't see a whole lot of that. So I think it opens up the park to multi-ages even better, and to show others, hey, this is kind of cool. And if anyone's been watching anything in the magazines, press, everything, pickleball is where it's at right now. It's all over, and it's become probably one of the hottest sports for whatever reason it is. But it is what it is, and that's just neat, because you're trying to create more excitement, more energy in the park, and it's all part of the plan. So I love that idea, that area, because you can do lots of things there. And you have restrooms right there that you can walk to and go from there. That's where I am. The idea of the ducks and the geese and dogs on the other side of that fence, I think that would be interesting. Maybe that would run the geese and ducks out. I don't know. But, you know, other than that, from what you presented, from what I see here, I think that makes the most sense. And then how many, is that 4 courts?
Well, we're talking dog park right now, so I guess what is your option going for a dog park? Would it be?
I know, I'm just curious. I jumped ahead there.
Four for the courts.
Right.
Yeah, minimal.
But, right, so I'm just trying to think in my mind as far as which one would fit in better.
Yeah.
So for the dog park, you really could possibly, maybe do both in that one main area.
It would probably be tight. We would probably want a separation between the two.
Right.
I'm thinking with the dogs disrupting the, right, it may not happen. The dogs usually are playing with the other dogs.
Right.
But we probably want to add a little bit of parking up there, because that would definitely make that area extremely busy, especially if there's events going on. And we don't want to take away the parking from the library.
Right.
I mean, people will start utilizing that if we don't provide something for them in that area.
And then you'd have Flow Paradise, which has a restroom right there, which has water, you know, and there's privacy for the dogs, and so 2 great options. That's all. Thank you.
Trustee Stokes?
Thank you. My number one choice would be Foley Road. I hear what Trustee Davis says about the dogs. Well, put the dog on a leash, get him out of the car, walk him to the dog park, take him off the leash. You know, everybody thinks their dogs are trained, they can give them off a leash. We do have a leash law, first of all.
Mine was on rapid run, not full. You went
I know,
rapid?
I like fully.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
that's
saying
what
yeah.
I'm saying, but you were saying that the dog may run out. in-
On rapid run, yeah. At least in a park, if it runs, you have a chance to get it before it hits a major
Well,
street.
that's what I was saying, put a leash
Yeah.
on before they get out of the car, but that's just me. So that would be my number one. You know, number two, you know, I would say maybe D1 would be my second choice. Again, D3 is not a bad choice. As far as over at the Floral Paradise at D4, I went there today, and it's really shady. You know, I hate to take all those trees down. There are some memorial trees there, so we'd have to relocate some of those. And I don't know what the process is for that. If people picked where they wanted their tree, and now we're saying, oh, we're moving your tree, you know, whatever. Don't know. But I could see that getting very, very muddy because it's not getting sun. And, you know, then we have a mud pile, you know. And I don't know if we're talking about putting a turf down or what. That's to be seen. I don't know what the cost of that is. I don't know what's all in your budget. But as far as the dog parks, my first one would be Foley Road, second one would be D1, and possibly D3.
What, D1 is Foley Road.
D1 is Foley Road.
Which one's?
Rapid Run, Foley Road. Sorry.
Zone A is Rapid Run, if we can make that work, and then
Right.
D2 is your number, or D1 is your number 2.
Zone A, D1,
So maybe
D3.
Okay, gotcha.
Sorry,
I understand, you know. Thank you.
I'm street. But thank you.
Okay, well, here comes the other side here in front. I'm not in favor of Foley Road. I'm not in favor of turning the corner and being this big green place that we have now, where we use for concert seating, where we use for overflow parking for events in the park, turn to asphalt for pickleball and fencing for a dog park. I think that right now, entering our park with the tree-lined entry is very inviting. And I would like to see these two placed further back into the park. Now, in my unprofessional survey taken by people walking their dog, they're also there with their children. So if you have children and your dog on a leash and you're going to the playground, maybe having this dog park somewhere accommodating both interests would be a good idea. Also, people that have used dog parks always comment on shade and that they're sitting there while their dog is, you know, playing with the other pals and they're burning up. So your idea about shade goes both ways because people like to be able to get out of the sun to let their dog play in the dog park. So I'm more in favor of going back more towards Paradise Gardens, Floral Paradise Gardens, and that's for a couple reasons. Number one, there's a great shelter back there. Number two, there's great restrooms back there. There's a playground back there. And I think what you guys are doing to focus on getting Floral Paradise Gardens back up and running and being an attractive place will just, you know, be magnified by the fact there'll be more activity around it. So I picked that area. Now, for the pickleball, I'm not in favor of Foley Road. I'm probably more, let's see, I'm not going to put pickleball in Floral Paradise Gardens, but probably further down, I don't know. Still, I don't like Foley Road. Clearview Lake area still comes into play for me because it scares the geese away. Those would be my two. But I don't know. I have a hard time envisioning turning into our park, our big green, conservation area, and seeing asphalt pickleball courts and a big fenced-in area for dogs. But I was really surprised to be educated on dog parks and what's all involved, and the water, the fencing, the spacing, the cleaning.
We have volunteers for that.
Yeah.
You're asking for volunteers for that too? Good. But people who have used dog parks, both of them, that in my unprofessional survey, said shade and a place to sit while their dog is playing.
So trustee Stevie, so I heard dog park D4 is your number one, I guess?
Yes.
Do you have a number two?
Probably would go with D2, D4 or D2.
Okay, that'll be your number two. All right.
And then pickleball has me puzzled, it really does. I'm probably more towards the P3. Still in the entryway, still driving the excitement to be seen, but it's not in our tree-lined green entry.
Do you want us to talk a little bit more about pickleball?
Sure.
All right. So we'll leave this map up. So what we showed on this map here in the orange is what we were proposing for the pickleball locations in Hillside Park. At the top, you have the Floyd Road entrance. Then we had the one P2, which is the Floral Paradise Garden location, which is basically across the drive to the north from the garden itself. P3 is the area to the south of Clearview Lake. Then we had a P4, which is actually just taking our existing tennis courts and repurposing them as an option. And then that'd be a quick fix for us to do it. And then P5 was the last option we had, which is the area outside of Field 6. Some of them have, issues themselves, like every location we look at. But with this, we have to make sure there's going to be grading, unlike a dog park. You can have a hill for a dog to run up and down. But there's a lot of good comments being made about, proximity to play equipment, restaurants, things like that. And those are things we really didn't elaborate a whole lot on. We kind of looked at the grading, we looked at the water, we did look at access and parking. We did lay out, and then we also considered the hillside again. That's kind of out there. You probably need a restroom building for that one, especially.
Well, I went on and watched Wagtown and Smart Dog Park channel. It's kind of interesting. People get a little carried away with their dogs, but it was an interesting education on what to be expected. And even to the point where these dog parks they're certified.
They're certified, yeah.
So, I mean, it does take more than just saying there's a great green flat spot and let's, fence it and let the dogs play. There's more to it than that. So I really appreciate the work that you've done to put this together.
Yeah, and then we also we did lay out an area in Floral Paradise Gardens that we thought would maybe an option right there. Typically, a pickleball court is 22 by 40 feet per court. We typically want about 7 feet between the courts. We give a little gapping. Fencing is something we can discuss. We don't need as much fencing. The fencing can only be 4 feet because those balls don't bounce. But if you're a player like me, you're probably chasing the ball more than hitting the ball, so you probably want to have some sort of barrier up. But this location too, we also considered, some off-street parking up there in case there is an event going on at the gazebo or at the shelter up there. And then we looked at 8 to 10 parking spaces up there. But
And that's the shelter right there
to the left, yeah, that is to the left. So we kind of looked at this. This isn't perfect, but it's kind of given an idea of how we could lay it out. The baseline to the rear, if you want to put fencing up, I guess that can be discussed. You see so many pickleball courts transition from tennis courts. It's usually 10 feet and stuff like that. And like I said, we can also, I've seen pickleball dimensions anywhere from 6 to 8 feet between the courts going along. So we can always try to figure that out too to make it economical. But
You can also adjust the court size, it can be turned, rotated, it's all depending on field.
it does.
Yeah, the depth of everything.
And staff, we didn't hit this on the pickleball or the dog park, staff can do all the pre-grading and all that stuff. It's when we get to the asphalt and things like this that we're gonna have to probably have to contract it out. We just don't have the equipment to do that. So we'll have to bring in somebody, doing a little more research to even getting the poles in the ground. It can be about $5,700 per court. And that's not including the net, that's just getting the poles in place. So that they're pricey, but we can probably cut costs on fencing, unlike a dog park, where we have to enclose the whole thing. This, we may be able to get away with just such smaller sections of fencing around it, have it open, people can walk in and out.
Greg, with the new surveillance, are all these areas covered by our new surveillance program in the park?
The Floor Paradise is not. Not right now.
Okay. Any questions? Trustee Davis?
You know, I'm not a fan of Hillside whatsoever. I don't like that idea.
We own it, so we figured we'd vote on it.
And even though, I know, and even though,
Separate,
what's that?
two separate.
Yeah, it is, and it kind of defeats what the purpose of what we're doing, of trying to draw energy and excitement and volume into,
In the park?
up to the park and Delhi Pike, the whole town square. That's what it's all about, creating excitement and bringing people together. And when you talk about retail and restaurants and everything, the first thing they want to see is what? Volume. Where's your people? And I think we're going to certainly be able to show that. That's on a whole nother discussion. But I don't think, and I know it would be cheaper if you just looked up and said, well, we'll just take the tennis courts and do it. I wouldn't want anything near, to be honest with you, in my opinion, I want anything near the skate park. I think it's a bad mix anyway with those tennis courts and the skate park right there. And you know, kids will be kids and say what they say. So, you know, I think away from that would be great. And I think you probably have a lot more turnout for it also. And there's not many injuries in pickleballs. But, you know, maybe there's something else we could do with that. But do you know how many people actually play tennis down? I know that there were...
There's a crew of gentlemen come Tuesdays, Thursdays right now.
Yeah.
Occasionally on the weekends, it's picked up with pickleball. So as of right now, we have one pickleball court on there, painted temporary. So
That's good.
yeah.
Given options too, in case we need to look at more options.
Well, you know, I do like the other one out there with Trustee Seavey, or who said it, but down there, was it, where did you have it? In the top, right next to the lake there.
P3, okay.
Yeah, right
Yeah,
below
is
the
that
lake.
D3?
Yeah.
I think that's an idea too, because there is still some visibility there, and people can see people having fun, and they're still close to everything, you know.
That would be P3.
Yeah.
Okay. Trustee Sturts?
D3 or D3?
Well, D3 is good.
Oh,
I don't like P1 or P3. A couple reasons. Our geese. Who's going to be there every morning cleaning up geese stuff? You're not going to keep them off of it. I mean, they go all over the field and they're all over, you know, both of those areas. So to me, my deterrent there is geese and geese droppings. That's just going to be, we're going to have to hire somebody just to clean those off. I personally like P2 over at Floral Paradise. Couple reasons. It's kind of a quiet sport. I mean, it is, you normally older people or whatever are playing it. Please? Well, you don't have 16, 17-year-olds, okay? So yeah, so I think it's a gentler sport, what I've observed and tried to play it myself. What I like about that is we own a lot of land there, and it's underutilized, and you're saying 4 now, but there's potential for 8. What if we get leagues that, you know, expand and we can start drawing people? It's still part of the parks. It's still part of our, you know, close to proximity to our business district. If they're playing, there is a playground there. There's a restroom there. So my number 1 is P2. P5, I don't like at all. I don't want to be playing and get hit in the head with a long drive. You know, if somebody hits a good home run, you know, it's going to be in your court. Don't know how often that happens. P4, I think, would be my second choice, but I agree with Trustee Davis. The proximity to the skate park's not optimal. So I guess I really only have one choice in my mind, and that's P2. But I can be swayed if you can really, really give me a...
Trustee Sturts, where was your dog park? I'm sorry.
Rapid Run was 1.
Rapid
Rapid
Run?
Run was 1. And what did I say for my second?
Holy Road.
Holy Road.
Yeah.
P1. Thank you. I'm looking at my mouth.
Anyone have a coin?
We haven't heard much of it now.
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay. Mine are D4 and P2.
One and two then.
P4, P2.
1054. 1054.
So you want to tell us what our final bill will be if we pick one of these?
Well, I think we'll try to lay out something, I think, at these locations, just to see how it's gonna work.
Okay.
We don't have the best equipment to lay out things, but we'll do our best. I want to thank Dan, he was very helpful in getting this put together along with myself, laying out the water lines and everything and doing the renderings for the courts we were showing tonight. So we'll try to get something put together and show you, because there's some
Greg,
issues.
I actually met a lady who's a Delhi resident with Cincinnati Recreation Department that does their pickleball. So if you'd like to talk to her and
Yeah, we can afford that, that'd be great.
yeah, she's very, very informative, particularly about space and fencing and, what you can expect. So, I'll give you her
That'd be
information.
great. I mean, just none of these are going to be inexpensive for sure. And one of the things we're hearing is something no different than we're hearing with our Delhi Town Square is delivery of product. And we're still waiting on our funds every year for the playground. It's been almost a year.
Supply chain.
Supply chain. So that's not changed a whole lot.
All right, well, we'll be anxious for your next progress report.
I'm looking forward to it.
Order an acre border of fencing and wherever it ends up, that's where we'll put it.
There's some nice fencing around the Delhi Town Square property. We maybe can borrow that. So.
And I too, just like with trustee Sturts, P2 is fine too for the pickleball factory floor of paradise, because that is a beautiful area. And I mean, there's nothing going on there. So yeah, I like that. Yeah.
All right.
Sounds good. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, guys.
Thanks for all your work.
Thank you. All right, back to the agenda. Fire Department, Mr. Leary, I believe they have a motion to hire?
Motion to approve the hiring of Daniel C.H. Watkins as part-time firefighter EMT in the fire department at the rate per the collective bargaining agreement with Delhi Firefighters Association upon successful completion of the voice stress analyzer, pre-employment physical, drug testing, and background check effective on March 30th, 2022.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Yes.
Motion approved. Chief Campbell?
No, we're excited to bring him on. I do have two other items I'd like to speak to the board tonight, and one being what we've been working on for the last couple months in our emergency operations plan. It's been quite some time since we've reviewed it and updated, and fortunately with EMA, we've kind of had good collaboration, coordination with them to bring our plan up to speed so that it's more in line with what you see at the county level, certainly at the state. And again, to remind everybody, if we were to have a disaster and need additional resources, this ties us to federal funding, state funding, emergency declarations, things that if you don't have these documents in place could put you at a serious disadvantage in recuperating funds and things like that. So we thought it was important to take another look at it and evaluate it. Certainly you understand your responsibility as elected officials. The expectation is that, we have a plan as a community how to deal with disasters and recovery, to deploy resources. The citizens expect nothing less. So it is a big deal. From our perspective, Captain Helms has spent the last couple months working through the format. We've taken delivery of the plan in the annexes to allow all the department heads to kind of have some buy-in, review it, give us revisions. So we've been allowed to kind of present a formal document to you for review. So tonight, I'd like to hand over the document to you with the consideration that you have time to review it. It is shorter than by probably 50% of the emergency operation plans that we've had in the past. Just 26 pages, 15 annexes. If you choose, I can go line by line tonight. We can kind of go through it and see what you think. Otherwise, I'd be happy to provide you with the documentation. You can review it at your own leisure, and then we can come back at some point in time. It is a formal plan which I would request that the board formally adopt through resolution so that we can then file it with EMA in course. So if we do that and it is adopted, then the next plan would be to work on our continuity of operations plan, which is another big item on how we will run as a government, how we will run as an entity in the face of a disaster during a recovery period. If we have buildings wiped out, elevators don't work, what's our plan B? And so certainly I want to take on that challenge as well in this process. So I do have copies here to formally give you tonight, and since I can tell from your faces you don't want to review them individually, we will move on to the second thing, unless you have questions on the emergency operations plan.
I believe this is a plan that I've already seen for Hamilton County through the Homeland Security Group. I'm on the Emergency Management and Homeland Security Board, and Hamilton County is really one of the very few counties in the entire United States that's accredited for emergency management, which is quite unique, and really it's a feather to Hamilton County to be that way. So, it's emergency hits, it's too late to make a plan. The plan's got to be there, and you hope that you never have to use it. But good work, Doug. We'll review them, and then at the next meeting, we'll have questions. We'll bring them to the meeting, okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
I do have one quick question. Back in the day, like the 33s under construction, the basement of the 33s was actually equipped for emergency operations.
Storm shelter.
Storm shelter, plane crash, things like that, where you had multiple access for computer hookups. Is that still?
It doesn't have the capacity that it once did, but we are revisiting, because we're updating this plan and addressing a need within our organization, we do need to bring an emergency operations center back into the fold. We've got Radcliffe just right around the corner, but if it's an event in which it strikes more than one jurisdiction, we're going to have a hard time getting our foot in the door to utilize their facility. I mean, it's hard to say with something that's as grand as that is 10 minutes away. The reality is we need to shore up internally what we have as resources. And certainly we are looking at Delhi Township Fire Department as one location for an emergency operations center, so we could stand it up with proper facilities and equipment that's needed to run an emergency. But we usually have to have a couple choices within the township to do that. So that has brought this back up to the forefront. Wireless is much more out there now than when the 33s was first developed. It was all hardwired, plugged, units. It was in the basement. Now not always a good situation with the layout, but certainly there's elements of that station that we can revitalize and utilize, because now we're revisiting this plan. So that is our idea, is to get this emergency operations center back up and running.
And then do we also identify places like school gymnasiums and so forth in your report?
Yeah, so in this plan, we have identified the threat and hazard listings, and in those 15 indexes, we've categorized how each responsibility is laid out to address our disaster or recovery, things like that. So very simple and forward. Again, it's much more condensed than what we've experienced in the past. We've really gotten long-winded in the past with some of the plans. It's very difficult to kind of read through. This one, I think you'll find, is rather easy. It's very high-level coordination that we're going to be dealing with in EMA. And again, it's an important part of our function as government to make sure that we can respond appropriately with our resources and then kind of continue in our operations.
Well, I think in the news right now, you see people sheltering from hurricanes, tornadoes, and so on, and it'd be nice if our residents knew where our places to go are located. So I think that's what this report actually identifies.
Does tie into shelter.
Right.
And it incorporates all of our departments and all of our personnel.
It has to,
because I know you've been working with all the departments.
Yeah, this function does not stand alone with any public safety entity only, not just police, not just fire. It's all of us working collectively with our neighbors and other agencies.
Yeah.
nonprofits and private as well.
Right.
I mean, you have to consider, we may have to utilize resources that we don't typically utilize to kind of build the program. So that's what the plan identifies.
Looking forward to it.
The other thing I'd like to talk about tonight is I'd like to take a minute to recognize firefighter Bruce Palmer on his 30 years of service. Because Bruce isn't really fond of attention and certainly recognizing him publicly in his presence just wouldn't be that comfortable or what he wants. I did want to share with the board and those watching tonight on how much we appreciate his long tenured service to our community. Bruce started as a cadet in Delhi Township in 1991. Receiving his training here in order so he could serve part-time. He eventually transitioned into full-time position in 2001. A couple weeks ago, he was privately presented a plaque in honor of his achievement. However, he did say he was okay with me sharing this with you all tonight as long as he didn't physically have to be in the township when I did it. So, again, it's a credit to the service we have been getting out of folks this long tenured season. It's one of those things that speaks high volumes of our community, how accepting they are of the service that we provide, and how happy our folks are to do so. So thanks again to Bruce Palmer.
Well, thank you, Bruce Palmer, for 30 years, and to Bruce Palmer's family for sharing him with us for 30 years. And congratulations to Delhi Township Fire Department for retaining an employee for 30 years. Congratulations.
Bruce could write a book.
Yes.
Right? He has a lot of history.
Thank you.
And speaking of books, here's a small one.
Thank you.
Good thing to have, folks. We need to know where to go in an emergency. Okay. Mr. Rubio, moving along, Parks and Recreations. I have no agenda items, but I believe you have some updates.
Parks. So we are still working on our new rules and regulations for the parks. I am right now working with the assistant police chief on getting that finalized so we can get in front of our law director for final review to get it then in front of you. These rules will definitely be enforced. So public needs to be aware, even our parks, please. The cameras are up and operating in the park now, so they're fully operating. So again, you know, we hate to have to put these things up there, but due to minor vandalism we occur all the time. We have to keep an eye on our investment in this community. Our playground is still busy as all get out, which is great to see. Again, please use the equipment properly. We are running into a lot of issues with the sway swing, which is the friendship swing. People are pushing it and banging it, and it's causing issues with the bracket. It could be a quality of the material, but I think it's just abuse overall. I mean, it's not how that swing is intended to be used. So we do ask the public to use the equipment properly in the way it's intended to. We had a great meeting this morning with our volunteer program for Floral Paradise Gardens. We're still looking for more volunteers. We did stress to them, we really need to get this garden back into its vibrancy that it once was. We were even on site assigning gardens to individuals because, as Mr. Davis said earlier, you know, this is going to be the pinnacle of our community when that High Town Square is up. We want people to walk over and enjoy our gardens. There's going to be, I was telling one of the individuals today that, you know, swim meets people and take a break. Where are they going to go? They're going to go to our park. They're going to experience our gardens. So we want to get those gardens back into their vibrancy that we once had before. And I hate beating a dead horse, but we are still looking for employees in the Parks Department, custodians, parks maintenance worker, you know, some seasonal help. So if you have anybody looking for a nice, fun, enjoyable summer job or full-time employment, definitely send them our way.
Greg, I think you're still going to take volunteers.
Oh, we are taking them. We'll take them all summer.
Yeah.
So today was just an initiation to kind of go over the rules and regulations of the program. But as people come on board, we'll onboard them properly during the process.
Great.
Any questions?
Yeah.
Greg, were you able to, on the cameras, just a quick, I know they're up and running, which is awesome. I think it's a great tool for our police and for our own residents to feel safe when they're there. But there was an incident a couple weeks ago, and there were some issues with the cameras, but they're still working that through, or is that good now?
I'm not sure if they came to a resolution on that yet or not, but
Chief is saying no,
yeah.
not yet.
We were still hooking the cameras up, so not all of them were properly working at that time. They are properly working now.
Perfect.
We actually even have them working on our desktops if we need to take a look at them during the day. So,
You know, I personally, I never believed there would be a day that I would vote to approve cameras in the park. But you're right, the investment is too large. The investment is too large to open it to vandalism. And, you know, it's not always our residents, sometimes it's visitors. So.
It's
you know.
always the visiting. No, I don't know.
But, you know, thank you for trying to keep it safe. And if we go forward with this Floral Paradise Gardens being these sites, I think we better look at extending the camera into Floral Paradise Gardens.
and we will have our resource officer starting on the 1st.
Oh, yes. When is that? May 1st?
April.
April 1st.
And
Friday.
Friday.
Okay, April 1st, our park resource officer begins his tour duty. I guess it's a him. Who do we have?
Stone.
Okay. Stone? Okay. Officer Stone will be in the park. So his hours go in the park and you'll see him regularly.
Yeah, we actually are working with the police to extend it a little bit further into November too. So,
Great.
because our restrooms are still open and everything else, we appreciate the partnership with them.
And this isn't to catch the bad guy. This is to protect the good people. And that's where you have to understand a lot of this. So we'll protect the good people. Thank you, Greg. All right, Police Department, I believe you've got some activity here today. Mr. Luby?
The motion to approve the hiring of Maria Kara Venemeyer as police officer in the police department at the second-year rate for the collective bargaining agreement with the Delhi Police Association upon successful completion of the background investigation, psychological testing, pre-employment physical, and drug testing, effective on March 30th, 2022.
I proudly move this.
So excited. Second.
Well, all those in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Is this our first brother-sister team we've ever had?
It would be.
It is. That's great.
Yes,
So
sister-
Kyle's sister
Kyle.
Kara is joining us.
Correct. As
Super.
long as we go through all the process there,
Yeah.
but we're pretty much through 90% of the background investigation part, so it's the other things based on the conditional and the motion pass that we'll get the ball rolling tomorrow and
And
hopefully bring her on board here soon.
she does go by Kara.
Kara, she goes by her middle name, just like Kyle, and she'll be coming from Middletown, actually. She has almost 3 years on with Middletown Police, so she's got some experience behind her.
That's great. Congratulations and welcome, Kara.
So we were able to utilize where we started hiring at lateral. Okay.
It's great.
Good.
Good job, Chief.
Thank you. And also, I'd like to thank Chief Campbell and Captain Helms for that document. It's something that's been on my radar for 14 years as a chief, because I sit and see the one in the office from 1995, and it's about that thick. So they did well. I know it's a lot of work, so we do appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Luby, we're down to Public Works. Motion?
Motion to approve the service level fees for the Hamilton County Stormwater District for 2022.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you, trustees. This was a mandate from the EPA about 10 years ago. We teamed up with Hamilton County Stormwater District and a lot of other local jurisdictions and to meet our compliance, and it's been working well.
Great. All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
Administration, Mr. Cameron, updates for us, please?
Just on the pickleball and dog park, right? No, I'm kidding. So the elevator, they said they'd have the parks April 1st. I'm pretty sure
Yeah,
they were
that's not
serious.
April Fool's.
Pretty sure they were serious. So they're planning, they're expecting the schedule will be the second week of April. So as you know, they will be just somewhat disruptive. And I'm crossing my fingers that when they see what's underneath the elevator as far as the
shaft.
boring that it goes down into in the earth, that it's intact and doesn't need any further work, because that's where we get into some dollars that we don't want to see. But anyway, so that should be second week of April.
Good. Anything else?
I got lots of other things, but I'd be happy to
I thought
answer
maybe-
any questions.
I thought maybe you'd like to explain the question that I got, which is, anybody else notice the big orange arches on the Ramkey lot and wonder what it was? I asked Mr. Cameron and he filled me in. The
Yes,
infrastructure
we're
pipes.
we're trying to recruit McDonald's.
Oh, that's it.
But, no, so they're assembling the different underground components on the site. You'll see some black corrugated pipe, that storm pipe that runs, in between. The big yellow pieces, they're yellow, Jim.
I noticed you
It's
said.
kind of a yellowish orange. I'll give you
Kind
that.
of melon color.
There's underground detention, so they're creating caverns underground, and those are designed to hold X amount of water. So the site is, you capture so much runoff and they have to hold so much. So those are underground detention structures that will be dug out, placed, put together. So those are pre-engineered pieces that people are looking at.
Great. So keep watching the activity up there. We'll try to answer all the questions as they come. Community development, we do have a motion first before we begin resolutions. Mr. Luby?
A motion to set the public hearing for case 2021-04 to Monday, April 25th, 2022 at Rapid Run Middle School at 6345 Rapid Run Road at 6 p.m.
And you're just with the adoption of this resolution?
It's a motion.
Motion, excuse me, so
Yeah.
moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Yes.
Mr. Law Director Brian, would you like to explain what we're doing here? We're following procedure. We're changing a date for a zoning meeting.
Thank you, Trustee Seavey. So at this particular point, as we recall, on March 14th, we had the special meeting to consider that particular case, which was the proposed rezoning. And at that particular time, both the trustees and the residents had additional questions and asked the developer or the applicant to come back with more information. The developer applicant is in the process of doing that, but just frankly doesn't have enough time given who they have to hire in terms of the drainage issues in particular, is what I was informed, so that they needed more time. So rather than have that on the originally scheduled date of March 31st, we've now moved it to April 25th for the benefit of the entire process, right? Because if you're going to ask somebody to provide information, they need time to provide the information. And so they hired somebody to provide that information so the residents will have a fuller picture of everything, will have their questions answered. The trustees hopefully will have their questions answered too, and the information will be provided. So this just moves this date, 4 weeks to provide the developer the information that the developer feels like it needs to answer questions that have been requested of them.
Thank you. Trustee Davis, do you have questions?
No, I don't. That's, obviously it was a very heated discussion that we had that night, and we completely get it. We completely get where the residents are coming from, and everything's up, and so the 25th will be interesting, and to see kind of where they are with their plans and things, and again, I think the 25th is a great opportunity to just put everything out on the table and look at the options, what's hot, what's not, and cool heads prevail, and try to do what makes sense. So thank you for that.
Trustee Seavey, may I?
Yes.
Sorry. So the one thing too that I'm aware of that I know the trustees, I saw some of the correspondence on it, but just to be clear, because I think again, sometimes the residents are under a misimpression, and I don't like it when frankly the trustees take heat anyway, but certainly when the trustees take heat for misimpressions from the public. One of the things that there was some consternation expressed about was, well, the applicant developer could talk forever and we only get to talk for 3 minutes. And that's perfectly proper because the applicant developer is not speaking in the public comment section. They're speaking in the applicant developer section, to which there's no time limit. The public is speaking in the public comment section, which is limited to 3 minutes. So I just wanted to make that clear. That's not the trustees playing games. It's the trustees, as they've done this entire process, following the process. The other thing that I would like to clarify too is there's been some correspondence that says, well, gee whiz, why are we even having these meetings? The zoning commission said 5 no, thumbs down. Why are the trustees even involved? Well, the trustees are involved because state law says the trustees make the decision, not the zoning commission. So the zoning commission is a mere recommendation. It has no legal effect. It doesn't mean anything in the sense that the state law and our zoning resolution has vested that power with you three, not those 5. And so I wanted to clarify those two misimpressions. One, that you're giving more favor to the applicant developer in terms of time speaking. No, you're not. You're speaking in different cabins. One is public comment, the other is the applicant's section, which is not time limited. And the other is that the trustees must undertake this as a matter of law. That is the process. And the trustees make the decision. The zoning commission makes a recommendation, but it's the ultimate board of trustees that makes the decision. So thanks for the opportunity. I wanted to clarify those two things as well.
Well, thank you. Trustee Sturts, you have questions?
No, we're following the process.
We're following the process, and really, when I went back and looked at the zoning commission, the board, a lot of their reasons to say no are the things that we're answering now with the developers. So let's see what they come back and present us on. That's April the 25th. It's a Monday, at 6 o'clock, back at Rapid Run Middle School. Okay? So thank you.
For clarification, do they need to make note as part of that motion that they're moving the previously scheduled meeting for March 31st?
She said
Is that what? I don't think that was part of the motion that I heard.
Okay, well, you're right, it wasn't officially, but Mrs. Seavey also said afterwards that we are moving that date from the 31st, and I've said it's part of it. So, and developers are aware of it, and you put out that correspondence.
I just want to make sure procedurally it's not a faux pas.
We're fine procedurally.
Yeah.
Everybody knows about the meeting, there's no issue about notice, and that's all that matters.
All right. Resolution, Mr. Libby?
Resolution 2022-26, resolution certifying abatement expenses at 4819 Bayview Avenue to the county auditor for assessment, declaring emergency and dispense with second reading.
I introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of this resolution.
Any discussion on this resolution, Mr. DeLong?
As you can see on the photo, the before and after, I actually like the after, just not only because it's been cleaned up, but there's also no snow on the ground. But this will be an assessment of $560 that will be assessed to the property owner's taxes for the cleanup.
Okay.
I move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Libby, please call the roll.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Sturts?
Yes.
Mrs. Seavey?
Yes. Resolution passes.
Resolution 2022-27, resolution declaring nuisance for accumulated debris at 435 Bond Road, declaring emergency, dispense with the second reading.
I introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of this resolution.
Any discussion on this resolution, Mr. DeLong?
I'm just going to hit the next few, the next six of them. I think it's seven actually, there's six. Resolutions 27 through 32. There has been an attempt by some of these property owners to clean their properties up, but they were still in violation as of this morning. So we do request to declare all of these nuisances tonight a nuisance. So
Mr. DeLong, when they attempted to clean, but it's not to the point of passing, how do we notify them that they're still in violation?
well, this is still a process we have to go through. So they will still, after tonight, we have to post a formal order on their property once we get the signed resolutions from them, giving them another 7 days before we can even go. So if we post the property Friday, it'll be 7 days from the date we post, not the date of tonight, for them to get it cleaned up. So they get multiple notifications. Now, when we say they've attempted, it's some things are piled up by the street that probably need to have a phone call made to get it properly cleaned up. Things have been shifted around the property. There's an attempt, but it's still in violation. If we take it off the agenda tonight and nothing happens, then we're starting clear back at the informal, then coming back in front of you again. So we're talking another 4 to 6 week process. So we'd rather go through this process, have you guys declare tonight. It gives us the ability to get in there when we legally can. We still work with the property, and the last thing we want to do is assess their property and go on the property and take their items. But we like to keep the process moving, otherwise it's just going to accumulate. And then we're hitting high grass season now too, and we want to remind people to mow. But we just don't want to build up.
Okay. Brian, your mic.
They would have another 7 days to address the issue anyway, so yeah, they would still work with them. But again, as I commented, I don't remember the meeting 2 months ago or 3 months ago when a resident had an issue with the nuisance process. It's like, look, in 7 other jurisdictions, what we do, there's a model, we get more process than the law requires. So it's, again, the trustees ought to be commended, and administration for taking that approach. Nobody, the whole point is compliance. It's not, to put their thumb on somebody. It's just to get the compliance as trustee Churchwich Fall remarked, that you want to keep the township in the way the township residents want it. This is one of the ways you have to do it.
Right, and I think we kind of heard resoundingly from the residents when you put out the zoning regs, the new ones, the revised ones, that I think you had one question and it was pretty well answered. So everybody, the residents, had an opportunity to question what these zoning regulations would be, and they were passed. So this is your agreement with zoning. Sorry, Greg. Next.
I move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Sturts?
Yes.
Mrs. Seavey?
Yes. Resolution passes.
Resolution 2022-28, resolution declaring nuisance for accumulated debris at 580 Orchard View Lane, declaring an emergency and dispensing with the second reading.
I introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of this resolution.
Any discussion on this resolution?
I will move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Sturts?
Yes.
Mrs. Seavey?
Yes. Resolution passes.
Resolution 2022-29, resolution declaring nuisance for accumulated debris at 4940 Delhi Pike, declaring an emergency and dispensing with the second reading.
I will introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of this resolution.
Any discussion on this resolution?
Where exactly is that?
That is actually behind the former Central Hardware.
Okay. I move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Sturts?
Yes.
Mrs. Seavey?
Yes. Resolution passes.
Resolution 2022-30, resolution declaring nuisance for accumulated debris at 4958 Delhi Pike, declaring an emergency and dispensing with the second reading.
I introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of this resolution.
Any discussion on this resolution?
This is actually behind the Dollar General next to the Central Hardware. So,
Is that seen from our park?
no, it's actually viewed from the residence on Poinsettia.
What's that? Okay.
I move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Sturts?
Yes.
Mrs. Seavey?
Yes. Resolution passes.
Resolution 2022-31, resolution declaring nuisance for accumulated debris at 5335 Foley Road, declaring an emergency and dispensing with the second reading.
I introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of this resolution.
Any discussion on this resolution?
Is that abandoned house or?
No,
Okay.
owner occupied.
I will move to
Owner
dispense.
occupied? Okay.
I'll move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Sturts?
Yes.
Mrs. Seavey?
Yes. Resolution passes.
Resolution 2022-32, resolution declaring nuisance for accumulated debris at 6434 Mapleton Avenue, declaring an emergency and dispensing with the second reading.
I introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of this resolution.
Any discussion on the resolution? Is this a repeat address? I thought I recognized that. Okay.
I move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Sturts?
Yes.
Mrs. Seavey?
Yes. Resolution passes. I have no public comments signed in tonight, so we'll move to announcement of community events. Mr. Luby?
The Easter egg hunt hosted by the Delhi Business Association will be Saturday, April 9th at 10 a.m. It's at the Delhi Park Lodge here at 5125 Foley Road. This event is free to all children ages up to 8 years old. Find out certain egg and win a prize. The Delhi Spring Craft and Vendor Show hosted by the Delhi Parks Department is Saturday, April 9th from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. That will be at the Delhi Senior Community Center on Mead Road. 35 vendors with homemade crafts as well as products from popular companies will be there, and You can contact the Parks Department with questions. The Delhi Historical Society Program, Lee Wittestatter, the Westside Natural, is Monday, April the 11th at 7 p.m. We'll be here at the Lodge at 5125 Foley Road. Historian and videographer will present Lee Wittestatter's life and his latest video, Lee Wittestatter, the Westside Natural. Visit the Society's website to learn more about programming opportunities. The Friday Night Rewind, featuring a special showing of the movie The Princess Bride, is Friday, April 22nd at 7 p.m. It's at the Delhi Senior Center on Main Road. It's presented by the Parks Department. $20 admission for adults includes snacks, bottled water, and one alcoholic drink. $15 admission for children includes snacks and a soft drink or a mocktail. There will be also games and movie trivia. Call the Parks Department with any questions. The Community Blood Drive, hosted by St. Dominic Knights of Columbus, is Friday, May 6th from 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. And I'll be at St. Dominic O'Connor Hall at 4551 Delhi Road. You can register at Hawksworth Blood Center's website or call 451-0940. Delhi Cleanup Day is Saturday, May 7th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. And that will be at the Delhi Senior Community Center at 647 Neeb Road. The event is free and open to Delhi Township residents only. Visit the Township's website or call the Parks Department for questions. The paper shredding event hosted by the Delhi Business Association is Saturday, May 7th from 9 a.m. until noon or until the truck is full. That will be at C.O. Harrison School on Neeb Road. The Delhi Community Yard Sale is Saturday, May 14th from 8:30 a.m. till noon. And that will be at the Delhi Senior Community Center in the parking lot. Contact Delhi Parks for information on becoming a seller. This is for Delhi residents only. Cost is $10 per space. Delhi Parks and Recreation Summer Concert Schedule. On June 16th, we have Bad Habit. July 21st, The Tillers. August 18th, Forever Diamond. And on September 15th, the Danny Fraser Band.
Great, thank you, Mr. Luby. We have no reason for executive session tonight, so if I could have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved.
This meeting of the Delhi Township Board of Trustees is officially over, and our next meeting, I believe, is April 12th or 13th.
See, I'm sorry, technically we need to vote on it, although I don't think it's going to be a dispute. But
All right. So, all in favor of this meeting being adjourned? Yes. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone. April 13th. And I believe we'll still be here, Mr. Cameron?
I'm pretty sure you'll be here.
Okay.